call this meeting to order. Confirmation of the agenda. That the Council of the Township of North Huron accept the agenda for the August 14th, 2020 special meeting as presented. I have Kevin moving. I have Anita seconding. All in favor? Carries. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we shall move on. Reports. 4.1 2020 Wingham Trailer Park follow-up research. Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
Billy, I just want to make sure, under a normal this is a normal council meeting, so the public does have the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes on any topic on the agenda.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Through your worship, so in the past, we haven't had public speak during a 2-minute comment period during special council meetings, but by all means, if council wants to allow that, ultimately a majority of council can authorize that for sure.
So I would like to move that, if council would support that.
Do I have a seconder? I have Paul seconding. All in favor? Carries. Okay.
So then I guess your next step would be then 2-minute public comment
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. So at this time, we will give a 2-minute apiece public comment session that has to stay to the agenda. It will be 2 minutes, and we will speak in the proper tongue. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Didn't see you over there. Ah. Not seeing anyone. Not hearing of anyone. I've already done the declaration of pecuniary interest. Let's go back to 4.1, and it's a follow-up research. Did you want to speak to that, Dwayne or Vicky? Arson, sorry.
And through your worship, I can speak to that. Yeah.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you, your worship. So, as council's aware, at the February 18th council meeting, council provided direction to staff to undertake a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site condition assessment for the property known as the Wingham Trailer Park. And the purpose of this site condition assessment was to determine whether the property was developable for residential housing in order to address the immediate need for housing in North Huron. At the August 10th, 2020 regular meeting, council received a report from the Director of Recreation and Community Services, and this report outlined the findings of that phase 1 and phase 2 environmental assessment, as well as recommended that council proceed with a phase 3 site condition assessment. The report also recommended that staff be directed to provide notice to the Wingham Legion by no later than August 14th of council's desire to terminate the operating agreement with the Wingham Legion effective December 31st, 2020. And at that council meeting, council expressed support for this recommendation and passed motion M24420. During this August 10th council meeting, during the 2-minute comment period, Mr. Mike Rintoul made reference to the potential for an agreement between the Canadian Pacific Railway and the former town of Wingham regarding the usage of the property for park purposes for 99 years. So this was new information for both council and staff, and in light of this new information, council requested that staff investigate to see whether there was any information on this. At the August 10th, 2020 meeting, the clerk advised that if new information was discovered, a special council meeting would be called to share this information with council for their consideration. So thus, that is why we are here for this special meeting today. As directed by council, staff undertook an investigation and located a bylaw passed on September 8th, 1959 by the council of the town of Wingham, as well as minutes from that meeting. In the bylaw and these minutes, it makes reference to the Wingham Trailer Park lands being retained by the township and being required to be used for park, driveway, or other purposes as may be considered advisable. Staff also located a legal opinion that was provided to the municipality at the time of the consideration of that bylaw. And basically this legal opinion advises the municipality that they do not have the authority to pass a bylaw restricting usage on the property. The legal opinion advises that in order to make the bylaw legal, a number of additional measures would need to be taken. Specifically, these additional measures would be that approval needs to be given to the OMB over the property, so that any time bylaw would come forward again, OMB approval would be required in order to amend or rescind that bylaw. The second step would be that the bylaw would need to be registered on title with the property, and then that way it would stay with the property, and that would appear as a special covenant with the Land Registry Office. The legal opinion then goes on to note that these additional measures would not be desirable for the corporation of the town of Wingham, and at the time recommended that they not proceed with those special measures, or additional measures, sorry. And then it acknowledges that in the absence of taking these additional measures, the bylaw would have no legal substance, as future councils would have the authority to amend or repeal the bylaw, just like any other bylaw of the corporation. So then, finding this information, staff's next step, what we did was we reached out to see whether any of these additional measures were taken. Those additional measures being whether anything was registered on title with the property, and whether approval authority was given to the Ontario Municipal Board. So as part of the Phase 1 environmental assessment, which is the historical review of the property, RJ Burnside obtained and reviewed a copy of the land deed, and based on this, there was nothing registered on title. There were no special covenants specifying that the Wingham Trailer Park property had to remain for the purposes of parks. Additionally, township staff followed up with the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, which of course is the entity that replaced the Ontario Municipal Board. And the written response that was received was that if there was no reference in any bylaw specifying that the Ontario Municipal Board has approval authority over this property, or if there was nothing on title specifying a special covenant that the OMB has authority over this property, then the LPET has no comments on the matter. Additionally, there was no reference in the minutes from September 8th, 1959 indicating that council had directed staff to take any of these additional measures. So based on staff's review, it appears that the additional measures were not undertaken, and for this reason, it's staff's opinion that the bylaw can be amended, or by virtue of amendment be rescinded. Staff consulted with the township solicitor on this, and based on the available information, the township solicitor provided a legal opinion agreeing that council does in fact have the authority to amend or rescind the bylaw. So staff also looked to see whether there was anything with the Canadian Pacific Railway at the time of the sale of the lands to the town of Wingham. Staff attempted but were unsuccessful in confirming anything with the railway. However, the township solicitor again has specified that any restriction that would have came from the Canadian Pacific Railway again would have been registered on title, and as noted previously, there was nothing registered on title. So Mr. Rintoul did mention a 99-year lease agreement, and staff were able to confirm that the 99-year lease agreement with Canadian Pacific Railway that Mr. Rintoul was referring to is for what is known as the Wingham Flats. So these lands includes the splash pad, the Lions Pavilion, and the Wingham Community Trail. And basically that agreement with Canadian Pacific Railway says that the municipality must own the lands and use them for recreational purposes. And of course, there are no plans or direction provided by council to redevelop that property with the 99-year lease agreement. So ultimately, based on staff's research and supported by the township solicitor, it's staff's opinion that council has the authority to amend or rescind this bylaw just like any other bylaw. If any additional information were brought forward, then council could ultimately choose to keep it as a municipal trailer park and put out an expression of interest for those interested in running it as a trailer park. However, at this time, there is no additional information that would specify that it could not be redeveloped. The other piece that's important to mention, I guess, is since the council meeting on August 10th, the Wingham Legion has reached out to township staff and basically have indicated that if council is still desirous of going down the route of terminating that operating agreement, then the Wingham Legion would prefer that the effective date be October 31st as opposed to December 31st. And the reason for this being that the trailer park normally closes in Thanksgiving. Once it closes, this will allow the Wingham Legion to settle their hydro costs, close their trailer park, and then arrange for their year-end meeting, which is normally held in the first week of December. So they would have all this information on the closure of the trailer park, the complete financials for their December meeting.
Thank you, Carson. Before we go to questions and comments, I don't believe I asked for a mover or seconder, or did I?
No, you didn't.
Okay. Do I have a mover? Paul, seconder, Kevin. All in favor?
Oh, and through your worship, it might be a good idea to read through that motion, because I don't think it was ever read through, just so
Oh, sorry.
council, and either you can do it or I could do
I'm going to get you to do it because I don't have my reading glasses.
it. Sorry, and can you just go back again to who the mover and the seconder were?
Paul and Kevin.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the joint report of the clerk and Director of Recreation and Community Services dated August 10th, 2020 regarding the Wingham Trailer Park follow-up research for information purposes. And further, that Council agrees to rescind bylaw number 1326, 1959 of the Town of Wingham. And further, that Council deems the adoption of bylaw number 49, 2020 being a bylaw to rescind bylaw number 1326, 1959 of the Town of Wingham to be a time-sensitive matter and approves an exception to section 19.1 of the procedure bylaw to allow bylaw number 49, 2020 to be passed at the August 14, 2020 special council meeting. And further, that council directs staff to provide the notice of termination of the operating agreement to the Wingham Legion with an effective date of October 31st, 2020 as requested.
Okay, questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Trevor.
Yes, Reed, I just wanted to confirm when you talked about, because the River Flats is basically adjacent to the trailer park, so is the agreement that we have with that lease agreement, is there a specifically, they are separate pieces of property, because they're coming from the same entity, correct? So they are separate in a sense of the agreement only specifies that.
Through you, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Carson.
That's okay.
Through you, Your Worship. They are two separate properties. One was transferred in 1959, the other one is in 1962.
And
Thank you.
through Your Worship, just to add to that, so the lease agreement is specified by the legal description of the properties.
Any other questions or comments or concerns? I'm going to say a few things. I'm going to say that, first of all, it's very important to note that we did give the public the right to speak for 2 minutes today, and nobody stepped forward, including the friggin' press, whether it was legal press or non-legal press. Nobody is here. The flippin' press, who's taking a picture of me right now, which is totally illegal, is sitting right here and could have asked the questions and did not. So let's get that straight. The second thing is the Legion sent us an email earlier saying just send them the notifications and they'll gladly sign it. They are not here disputing this either today. So if anybody takes the time, as I would hope we're all going to, as I know my council does, in the public, to make sure you go directly to the person involved and have conversation with them before you start, and he's still taking a legal
Through Your
film.
Worship,
Yep.
so the North Huron procedure bylaw prevents mobile devices because the council meeting is live streamed.
Yeah, Steve, put it down, be nice. Thank you, Stephen.
I request,
Yep.
I request that he be removed.
Because he
not
did
going to
something
comply.
illegal, yes, he can be removed, I believe.
It's through Your Worship. It's up to you.
Yeah, way you go, Steve. Everybody plays by the rules. You know why, you just took the legal films, that will show up on the Wingham Free Press later, and you'll babble on about it, so please leave.
I didn't record any video.
Oh, Steve, please leave. Please leave. Doesn't matter whether it's video or...
I didn't take a photo. I seriously can't hold my cell phone here. Hey, well, he gets to do,
Well, we're gonna show that the
Okay.
free, we're gonna show that the Free Press was here.
what's that, sir?
We're gonna show that the Free Press was here. You'll have that on your Free Press later, so we'll show who the Free Press is. Okay, you know what, Kevin, he doesn't wanna leave, but we're pretty well done, so we've made our point. Thank you very kindly, everyone. So as I was saying, that the Legion is aware of this, and there is nobody in the council chambers, and at the previous meeting, at the regular council meeting, the Legion wasn't there. Where I was going with this is whether it's Greens Meat Market or the Legion running the trailer park or anything else, the agreement between North Huron and Morris Turnberry that's been sidelined. Please go to the actual people that are involved in it. Don't do the coffee shop talk and then come up with all these great ideas. You have the right to speak. You have the right to present before council, but let's make sure that we have our facts, because we're paying staff a lot of money to look up things that, well, and take their time when they could be doing other items. Anyway, that's all I had to say. So was there anyone else wanting to speak to this? Go ahead, Kevin. Just Chris, sorry.
Yeah, I was just very pleased. I had heard that there could have been an agreement with the railroad, so I'm really glad that we were able to dig down and find this out. It would be a horrible surprise later if we didn't know about it. So kudos to staff and to everybody.
Okay.
Through your worship, and if I could just add to Councillor Palmer's point. So the bylaw references legislation that's not in effect anymore. So the Municipal Act of 1950, right? In speaking with the township solicitor, he said it might not even be required to rescind the bylaw. However, Mr. Rintoul speaking to that, it is a good thing, because it definitely helps to clean up the file, regardless of whether it needed to be done or not. But and we definitely, as staff, we want to encourage, if people are aware of stuff out in the community that might be the case, staff definitely appreciate that, and then we can target our searches for sure.
Trevor?
Yeah, no, I wanted to, the trailer park community that came, and Mike Rintoul providing information and his opinion of whether, that's information that's valuable to us as councils. We don't always have all the history, even though we've lived here, or I've lived here for 12 or 15 years. I don't know what happened in 1959. I wasn't even born then. So at the end of the day, people that present to us, history of our community, it's nice that we have that, be able to get that information, history, so that we can make an educated decision on, history doesn't mean it can't change. History is what it is. It's the history of our community. We won't want to lose it, but we also don't want to we just don't want to be status quo and maintain the same stuff that we've always had. If we can change and make it better, make the community better. So at the end of the day, I appreciate the fact that Mr. Rintoul gave us that information. I'm even more excited the fact that we can answer these questions in an open and transparent way, and that says if somebody wants to ask a question, that's okay. I'm okay with answering the question and taking that opinion. Somebody's opinion is somebody's opinion. We're elected as members of this council. We're all going to be on the election trail at some point or another. People can sit here and make these difficult decisions at another time. But right now, this council is making these difficult decisions to change the way we are operating. So at the end of the day, I appreciate all the information the public gives, and I take those information and that message to heart when they come and ask, because not everybody's opinion is going to agree with mine. But we have to accept the fact that people have an opinion and respect that opinion. So I'm just glad that we can move forward on whatever we're going to do with council's wish when this vote comes. But thanking them and thanking Mr. Rintoul through this meeting is, I think, important, that he knows that that information was valuable to us to make sure that we are able to do what we're able to do and not come back with a problem later.
I just want to speak to that because maybe you misunderstood what I meant. Yes, I totally agree with you. Everybody should be able to come forward, even with the situation where I'm before the ombudsman. I am grateful that those people came forward. All of you know I don't hold a grudge more than 1 minute. Everybody knows that. We've worked together for 2 years. I have no grudges. We will go through that properly. I just simply meant you have the opportunity to talk to Mr. Green, and you have the opportunity to talk to all the counselors before you send a letter in, which is misgiving. So that's what I meant with that one. The things that we're doing on a regular basis, please talk to us or the people involved before you decide to, whether it's be right in the paper or come before somebody. It's just easier for the person that does it too, because they're not embarrassed when it's wrong. As far as what's going on with myself and this, absolutely, Trevor, I did not mean for a second not to come to us. Everybody is welcome to come to us, and we will solve things and move forward, and I appreciate you bringing that up, so I realize I said that wrong. Okay, guys, anyone else? Seeing none. I have a mover now, or I don't?
You have a,
I
through
thought
your
so.
worship, you have a mover and
Yeah.
a seconder.
So I call the motion. All in favor? Carries. Thank you. And we're going to go to bylaws, 5.1 bylaw number 49, 2020, if you don't mind, Carson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion, I guess do you want to ask for a mover and a seconder first, and then I'll read the motion?
Do I have a mover? I have Chris and I have Anita. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion on the floor is that bylaw number 49, 2020, a bylaw to rescind bylaw number 1326, 1959 of the Town of Wingham, being a bylaw under the provisions of the Municipal Act, RSO 1950, Chapter 243, Section 390, and amendments thereto, to restrict the sale of certain lands within the limits of the said corporation, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Reeve Clerk, and be engrossed in the bylaw book.
All in favor? Carries. There is no closed session or reporting out today, so I'm going to draw this council meeting to a close
No,
at...
through Your Worship, there's a confirmatory bylaw still.
Oh. Confirmatory bylaw. Again, Carson, I'm going to get you to read that.
Do you want to get it?
I'll move it, Reeve.
Okay. Paul? Seconds?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the motion on the floor is that bylaw number 50-2020, being a bylaw of the Township of North Huron to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by council of the Township of North Huron, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Reeve Clerk, and be engrossed in the bylaw book.
All in favor? Carries. Adjournment. The Council of Township of North Huron agrees there being no further business before the council. The meeting hereby adjourns at 9:22. Do I have a mover? I have Kevin and I have Anita. All in favor? Carries. Thank you, everyone.